All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules here as I run through this webinar. What we're going to be going through here is actually looking at a client of ours named Alice, who one was able to really benefit as a swimmer, a master swimmer, increasing his efficiency, lowering his time. And then as well, the of it is actually looking at Ballas as a coach and how he optimized the TritonWear system for both himself and as well his athletes. So we're going to get started here. Feel free to ask any questions as I'd be happy to answer anything, but please save them for the end. You're able to ask the questions by just simply clicking on the Q&A box there in the top corner. I'll bring down a dialog box and you can type any questions in. But again, save them for the end, and then I'd be happy to answer them then. All right, so just to meet the host here. So my name is Trevor. I'm an account executive with TritonWear. Been here just a little bit longer than 10 months now with a degree in sport management. I'm very passionate about sports, so it was a natural fit coming to TritonWear. Being able to see analytics that were never really previous in swimming is a very exciting thing to myself. The one thing I can say is I've been here. It's exciting to see the company grow, and I'm excited to see the direction it goes within the next 10 months as well too. So we're just gonna see what we're actually gonna cover here. So overview of the system, kind of just an introduction as to what TritonWear is, how it can benefit you, and more or less just sort of how the system works. The next thing we're going to jump into is why Ballas chose TritonWear. So understanding what his thought process behind wanting to really gain all these analytics was, how he integrated into his team, which is a very important aspect of understanding how the most efficient and most effective way you can integrate TritonWear is, how TritonWear actually helped him improve his own performance. And then the last thing we're going to touch upon with him is the coach's perspective for himself. So understanding how he actually uses it as a coach. And then again, we'll finish up with the Q&A section. All right, so what we're going to dive into here is the whole train smarter with TritonWear approach. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is collecting and tracking all data simultaneously. So with this, the actual metrics that we're collecting for live tracking include stroke type, splits, speed, stroke count, pace time, distance per stroke, stroke index, which is a measurement looking at efficiencies, as well. We have stroke rate, time underwater, breath count, push off force, and turn time. A thing I may add to this too is with TritonWear, we have new features constantly coming up where we're trying to increase our sort of reach with the different metrics. So for example, just a few weeks ago, we released both breath count and push off force onto the platform. So what we really like to do, we work closely with our clients to ensure that we are delivering the metrics and the data points that mean the most to them. They're getting the most use out of the platform. Second aspect of what we're going to look at here with collecting data is ensuring that it's accurate. So an important piece for TritonWear system is the validation of our data. So we're able to validate our accuracies by using tens of thousands of video recorded swims. This allows us to optimize our algorithm and constantly improve our accuracies. So as I mentioned before, with the constant releases of the platform, we're constantly releasing new firmwares that allow for increased accuracies. As well, we're currently 4 times more accurate compared to any of our competitors. So on the swimming analytics company side, there's really no competition to TritonWear. All right, so the next thing that we are gonna look at with the Train Smarter with TritonWear approach is looking at personalized, unbiased feedback for each athlete. So before I get started on this, just to mention the image that you're looking at here, this is an example of what you'd actually see on the pool deck as a coach. Each athlete has their own tile up on the screen. This tile will bring in all the information where you're able to see it for live tracking. So the mobile app displays the activity for all the athletes actually wearing units simultaneously. Each athlete's information updates in real time throughout the workout. So our mobile app also has some exciting new features that now allows coaches to actually compare different metrics against each other. So this is something that we've never really been able to do before, but an example of this is actually laying over stroke rate versus distance per stroke and being able to see if there's any correlation between the two different metrics. So by any of the different metrics that we looked at on the last screen, you're able to actually lay them over top of each other to see if there's any correlation with your athletes. On top of this, we're actually able to look at general trends by viewing high-level data grouped by either the rep, the set, or the workout level, or you're able to actually drill down and analyze every length and detail from incremental adjustments. So depending on the type of live tracking you're looking to do, you'll be able to sort of find that sweet spot with your sort of your coaching type by just a touch of a finger. So depending if you're just looking to build out all the split times automatically so you're able to spend more time with your athletes, or you want to dig into a specific split, specific length within the workout, you're able to actually drill down there and understand the development of your athletes over an entire practice. And the last part that we're actually going to look at here with the Train Smarter with TritonWear is looking at personal profiles and how they can increase engagement and motivation. So what we're looking at here is actually a computer screen for the long-term tracking. The long-term tracking can be optimized by both coaches and athletes. So with this, we're able to get easy test set reporting, and as well, I'll mention something a little bit later with learning from the pros. So with easy test set reporting, you're able to overlay set data from different workouts to pinpoint an athlete's improvements. So the results will answer questions such as, is speed increasing while maintaining stroke count? Are turn times faster, or is your underwater time increasing? So you're able to answer questions just like quicker than you ever would before because you have all these different data points coming in that the athlete are able to see. This is an important piece to increase engagement and motivation in swimmers of all different levels. So what you're actually able to do on top of this is you're able to compare your athletes on your team against other athletes, or you can even go a step further and compare your athletes against pros. So as I mentioned, beautiful piece to increase engagement and motivation. So after a workout is completed, it's visible to see all the results as both a swimmer and a coach. As well as I mentioned before with the pros and being able to compare them, it really allows your athletes to see how they stack up against the best in the world, which is a great way to boost both engagement and competition. All right, so the last part that we're going to talk about with TritonWear here is looking at why TritonWear. So the first part we're going to look at here with, we tried other products, none compare with regards to data accuracies, as well going off of data collection. For once, we're being able to focus on the swimmers and not the stopwatch, which I'll expand upon in just a moment. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at data structuring. So being able to search and compare data over time makes weak points easy to identify. So with regards to accuracy, as I mentioned before, there's no product on the market that is anywhere near as reliable as TritonWear. As well, we offer more data points than any of our competitors. What I was mentioning with being able to put down the stopwatch, really unique aspect to the platform. For the first time as a coach, you're able to put down the stopwatch and actually work on your athlete's stroke mechanics. So instead of having to worry about getting the stroke count or the split times after every length, after every set, instead you can actually get unbiased feedback for you while you put down the stopwatch and you worry about giving personalized feedback to each athlete, working on whether it be stroke mechanics or whatever it may be. And then lastly, looking at data structuring, you're now easily able to look back on the history of each swimmer and understand both weaknesses and strengths in order to sort of pinpoint what needs to be worked on moving forward. All right, so now we have this beautiful picture of a boy in the sea with a little Michael Jordan. See it happen. Some wish it would happen. Others make it happen. So this is sort of our transition as to what TritonWear is and how it can work for you into how it worked for Balaz and his swim team, both as a master swimmer and as a coach of the swimming team. So we're going to look at integrating TritonWear into his team. For Balaz as a master swimmer at Vasa Swim Club, the key to success with the TritonWear is not simply to have the technology. His team's philosophy is the swimmer really has to be into it to make it worthwhile. So Balaz, he says, as soon as you have the swimmers interested, it becomes more valuable. Having only the coach wanting it won't work. So he's kind of going on the basis of what I mentioned before with the engagement and motivation. Having the athletes engaged in the data, being able to really take control of their own workouts, that's where you're going to see the system. So what Balaz actually suggests is starting with a smaller profile package, then upgrading once the swimmer is really invested. So they can benefit from all the features. This allows both swimmers and coaches to ease into the technology and not get overwhelmed by it. So best experience and benefit from it. So what Balaz means with this is maybe starting with smaller profiles where there's just a few metrics until you're able to understand the true value of just a few metrics. And then when you're wanting more, wanting to dive a little more in depth, then upgrade the metrics at that point and really dive a little deeper into what's going on with each swimmer. All right, so this is sort of the process in which Balaz went through looking at the TritonWear system and how it could benefit him. So this is a 3-step by what? It's the experience and being able to identify the problem at hand. That is going to then transition into the so what. The so what is looking at a reflection and being able to ultimately analyze the events. And then lastly, we're going to jump into the now what. The now what is looking at the learning and being able to take action from your reflection and your experience. So just jumping into a little bit more detail about what this process means. The what refers to the activity itself. So what does the data say is happening consistently, or maybe what's happening inconsistently over time? So the example we're going to look at here are an athlete's turn times too slow. Then we move into the so what. The so what refers to figuring out the root cause or why that even matters. So ask yourself, why is this important 5 times? This should provide you with the actual problems to solve, which you can articulate easily to your swimmers more appropriately. So the example going off of it, athletes turn times too slow, is realizing they're losing valuable seconds off of their longer races because of this. And then lastly, jumping into the now what. So the now what refers to determining how to address the root of the problem. So now that you know what the actual problem or issue is, you're able to more or less take action and figure out the best solution for it. So example, the athlete is writing off turn times and not taking it as an important aspect of a long distance race, but those slow turn times are adding up. So moving forward, taking control of that and understanding and being aware of what the actual turn times are to ensure that they're being as quick as possible to shave those valuable seconds off of those races. All right, so now we're going to jump into the actual problem that Balaz found as a master swimmer, going through this 3-step process to figure out his own solution, and then we'll end on what the actual result was for Balaz. So looking at the what, the problem that he had was a backstroke weakness. So if we look a little deeper into this, what he was wanting to do, focus on the stroke count and stroke rate. And then secondly, set targets for each set. So we're going to dig into the data to see if it was accomplished and where to focus if the accomplishment was actually not met. All right, so now we look at the so what, and analyzing the events. So what Ballas found is bad days were much more obvious. So the metrics made it clear when he had a bad practice, a bad set, or overall just a bad workout. So the focal area for this is reducing the stroke count while maintaining the same stroke rate is huge. What Ballas thought is by maintaining the stroke rate and decreasing the stroke count, split times are guaranteed to improve. So what Ballas actually said from this, he said one of the most valuable things he found is if he's able to do so with these, that this revelation allowed him to really focus on his efforts and gain significant improvements. So now we're going to jump into the last aspect of looking at the now what. So ultimately learning what his issues were and taking actions for it. So the solution allowed for an iterative approach to 1, set targets for your sets and workouts. 2, identify if the target was hit or missed. And then 3, dig into the reasoning why it was either hit or missed. Was the stroke count too low? Was the breath count too high? Were the turn times too slow? And then lastly, looking at distance per stroke. Was the distance per stroke too low? So the fourth part of this is then to define a new target with focus on improving these metrics specifically. So now the last part that we're going to look at here is what the results were for Ballas. So ultimately, did it work? What were his findings with taking a conscious effort into looking at his different metrics? So he found an astounding improvement on the backstroke metrics of 30 to 40%. So with this, it improved his overall backstroke time, as well improved his IM time, simply because his backstroke had improved by such a large amount. So if we dive a little deeper into this and actually understand what he means by his metrics improving by 30 to 40%, the metric that really struck out to him was distance per stroke. So Ballas actually found by using the TritonWear system and being aware of his distance per stroke, it improved from about 0.9 to 1 yard per stroke. And then after being aware of his goals and setting his goals, it increased to about 1.3 to 1.35 yards per stroke. So ultimately, this allowed Ballas to shave valuable time off his backstroke and also become a much more efficient swimmer. So with this, he was actually able to keep his increased distance per stroke while maintaining his stroke rate and minimizing his stroke count. So not only did he become a faster swimmer, he also became an increasingly more efficient swimmer as well too, which is always great to see. All right, so now we're going to sort of change direction a little bit here. So the part that we just looked at there was how Ballas used the system simply as a swimmer, how he improved his times using it on in the pool. Now we're going to look at the coach's perspective for him, what he actually sees outside of the pool, and how you can take advantage of the system and use it the most effective way that he sees possible. So just a little quote that he gave us here is, the system will basically do half of your job. So you can produce swimmers twice as good in the same amount of time. So if we dive a little bit deeper into this, the system gives coaches more time to impact swimmers' performance much more efficiently. So it's important to get swimmers interested in using the system, sort of how I mentioned before with the engagement and motivation. So the TritonWear system revolutionizes how coaches are able to delegate their time on the pool deck, allowing you to spend more quality time with each athlete and ultimately get higher quality, unbiased feedback while doing so. So while you're able to give your athletes this more personalized feedback, working on their stroke mechanics, on the other end, the TritonWear system is giving you unbiased, accurate feedback that you don't even have to put any work into. It's just automatically there for you. And as well, in order for the system to truly be optimized, the swimmer needs to buy into the system just as much as the coach. So when both parties are interested, it can help the development of the swimmers in an increasing rate. So the last quote that we have at the bottom of the page here from Ballas is, gain 10 years of experience in just one using this product. which is very kind of him to say, and really outlines how you're able to just gain so much more valuable data and experience while still being able to coach your athletes as well too. And that is our webinar at this time. I will be going to the Q&A section now. I can see that there are a few questions here. Some of them I actually will be reaching out via email after this webinar ends in order to sort of touch upon them in a little bit more detail and an email setting as well. I do have a question here looking at if push strength is able to indicate reaction time. And so the answer to this is push-off strength does not indicate reaction time. Push-off strength actually indicates the force in which the athlete pushes off the wall. So what we're looking at is it's on a scale, being able to understand if the athlete had a strong or weak push-off off the wall, and correlating that by different metrics too. So you can put that into consideration with turn time and time underwater in order to really understand if it's an efficient metric for your swimmers. So again, if you follow us on our social channels, we'll keep you up to date on what's coming in the following weeks. As well, with the FINA World Championships going on this week, I would mention that we do have race analysis available of some of the big races that are going on. This might be something of interest to a lot of you swimming fans out there, available on our channels as well on SwimSwam. So I would encourage you guys to go and check it out. And lastly, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email at info@TritonWear.com. We'd be happy to answer any questions you guys may have. And that's it for us today. I look forward to connecting with you guys again shortly. Take care.